The Ford F-150 is an American cultural symbol. Its identities range from work truck to luxury item, and it fits all of them. The truck you're looking at here is on the high end. It's the F-150 King Ranch, the luxury handbag of Ford trucks. And it does that so well.
This is the 2025 Ford F-150 SuperCrew King Ranch, a big, fancy, Texas-style pickup truck. And I'm Alanis King. Let's go for a drive and stick around for the end of this video to get this F-150's full report card. The Ford F-Series dates back to 1948, when Ford offered 3 engine options, a 95 horsepower 6-cylinder and 2 V8s, making 100 and 145 horsepower respectively. These days, the F-Series gets bigger and more expensive by the model name designation F-150, F-250, F-350, and F-450. But back in the day, it was the F1, F2, F3, and F4. As the years went on, the numbers got bigger. We are currently on the 14th generation of the Ford F-Series, which debuted in 2020. In 2025, the base model F-150 starts at $38,810 American dollars, and this King Ranch is one of the top specs. It starts at about $75,000. The thing I find fascinating about American truck configures like the one on the F-150 is that base F-150, the $39,000 one, is a cloth seats single cab truck, which means it has 1 row. It is the rental spec get your work done vehicle. And then we double the price and we get the King Ranch. This is the tell people what work to do vehicle. Can this vehicle get dirty and do all of the things that a truck should do? Yes. Is it going to get dirty? Probably not. When I look at a truck like this F-150 King Ranch, there are 2 main socioeconomic factors that really fascinate me. The first is that this is a status symbol. I kind of equate it to having a luxury handbag. You look around and everything in here has these soft leathers. It feels artisan, and also you have logos everywhere, which is a key in the luxury handbag market. This is meant to show that you can afford it, just like that handbag. The second socioeconomic factor I find fascinating about this F-150 is the concept of price creep. In America, for a long time, we have looked at vehicles like this F-150 King Ranch as big luxo boats that people buy as status symbols, but don't use them for all of their capabilities. You see a vehicle like this, go to the office, go to the grocery store, and go home. Not necessarily go off-road and do all of the rough and tough things you would expect from a truck, because this is a status symbol. But when I saw the sticker on this F-150 and it said $80,000, I was surprised. Not because $80,000 is inexpensive. It is very expensive, but because other new cars are catching up to this. I kind of equate it to drinks in New York City. A few years ago, I would go and I would think, oh my gosh, a drink at the bar is $20? What are we doing? And now in so many cities across America, a drink at the bar is $20. So it's not that this F-150 is cheap or it's gotten cheaper. It's that a lot of other things are catching up. This 2025 Ford F-150 King Ranch has a 3.5-liter twin-turbocharged V6 engine and hybrid system that Ford calls Power Boost. It makes 430 horsepower and 570 pound-feet of torque, and that power goes through a 10-speed automatic to all 4 wheels. A few things to note about this engine bay: you have great battery access. The longitudinally mounted engine sits actually pretty low right there, and for a hybrid, this has an odd lack of spicy orange cables right here that are visible. And I think you could have easy access to working on this engine. You would just need a ladder because it does sit so low, it's very hard to reach. And the final assembly point on this vehicle is in Dearborn, Michigan. I would now like to welcome you to our brand new segment, Alanis's Tour de Interesting Features. And we start around the back of this F-150 King Ranch with all the ways that you can access the truck bed. We start with this pull-out step right here, which makes it easier to step up in the truck bed. And then you can open the truck bed in multiple ways. One, you open this door and you see the cool little ruler right here, which is super handy if you need to measure stuff. And then if that's just too cool for you, you can open the truck bed like a normal person. Our next cool feature is that while a lot of vehicles have keyless entry, you'll notice this also has keyless running boards, so I can easily step up and get inside the vehicle. And then when it's time to leave and maybe go in the grocery store, I also have keyless lock by pressing my thumb right there on the door. When you open the door on the F-150 King Ranch, whether it's the passenger or the driver's side, you will see that right here on the air vent, there is an American flag. And very importantly, this American flag is facing in the way where it's running into battle. And we have seen on some other automakers like Jeep one time put the American flag facing the other way. And people on forums did not like it very much. So on both sides, you'll see that the American flag is facing this way, as if it's running. Our final cool features all come inside this F-150 King Ranch. And the first is that these front seats are lay flat. So if you ever get stranded somewhere or you're waiting for traffic after a football game, you can quite literally lay all the way down and relax. The next cool feature has to do with the name of this vehicle and the branding of this vehicle. That is King Ranch. King Ranch is an 825,000 acre property in Texas, and Ford has a licensing deal with King Ranch to make these F-150s. Now, when you look around this vehicle, you'll see a lot of King Ranch logos and established dates. And up here above the infotainment screen, we have an engraving of the King Ranch carriage house. Now, you might be wondering, what is this W logo? King Ranch, in fact, does not know exactly what it is. It's called the Running W, and it's been around since the 1800s. And they're not sure if it's meant to represent the rattlesnakes on the property, the shape of a creek, or the horns of a Texas longhorn. But it is all over this vehicle and all over King Ranch. And our last cool feature is that when we put this shifter down, that motor sounds like it might not last super long. We can do a lay flat center console, so you can write and you can do all of your work right here. When we put that center console back and we open it up from the front, there is a ton of storage in there. Since we're talking about the F-150 King Ranch today, and that King Ranch logo may or may not symbolize a Texas Longhorn's horns, I figured I would wear my Texas Longhorn shirt from our partner Homefield Apparel. Homefield has all the coolest officially licensed college sports apparel, along with Indy 500 apparel, NASCAR apparel, and some pro sports apparel. They're the best, and I highly recommend going to homefieldapparel.com to check out all the stuff they have, especially if your football team has done better than mine this season. The sticker on this particular 2025 Ford F-150 SuperCrew King Ranch starts at $74,805 American dollars. It has a few options on it, including that $1,900 hybrid system, $1,300 22-inch wheels, a $430 retractable rear step, a $595 bed liner, and more. After options and fees, the total price on this 2025 F-150 SuperCrew King Ranch is $81,725 American dollars. We have now made it to my favorite part of any car review, which is how many Atlantises can fit in this Ford F-150 SuperCrew King Ranch's truck bed. Now, while I am getting in a trunk or truck bed, I like to talk about a vehicle's key, and this is very much a typical Ford key. Anytime I have a Ford product and I switch to a different Ford product, it's just the same key, which kind of gives you deja vu, even though you have a different vehicle in the driveway. It's big, it's thick, it's plasticky, it's not great looking. In terms of Atlantises fitting in this truck bed, I have heels on, so I'll be a little shorter without them. And these wheel well arches, they kind of impede on me, right? So I think we can maybe fit 3 Atlantises on the bottom and maybe 3 to 4 on the top. So like 6, 7 Atlantises? It's time to drive the 2025 Ford F-150 SuperCrew King Ranch. And before we talk about how this truck drives, I want to talk about some other important things, such as the styling, the comfort, and the controls. Let's start with the styling. On the outside of this truck, I like how it looks. It looks stately. I think the red paint that's on this one, paired with those beige accents on here, make it look really nice and fancy, especially with the King Ranch logos out there. But I think two big things detract from that stately, expensive look. The first is there are some unpainted black plastics out there, and that just looks more cheap than the rest of the truck does. The second is I see this with a lot of paint jobs. There's a lot of orange peel on this truck, and I wish there wasn't that much orange peel on it, because the thing is, this paint and this truck look really nice, and if the actual paint application had been better, it would look so much nicer on the outside than it does. I also like the styling inside this F-150 King Ranch. I mean, this brown headliner looks really nice. It matches the rest of the truck. We have this panoramic glass roof that goes over the front seats and the rear seats to make the inside feel even bigger than it already does. The leather on these seats and the seat styling in general and the comfort is really, really good. And we have these wood accents that look and feel very real. And then on top of that, we have what we talked about earlier, which is the King Ranch running W logo that is all over the inside of this truck. And again, you look at the nice soft leathers in here, and you look at the stitching and the styling and all the branding, and you cannot help but compare it to a nice luxury handbag with branding all over it. It just looks good, and it also communicates to the buyer, hey, you could afford this, which means that you have some level of affluence that you are proud of. And people are, and that's why they buy this kind of thing. Not only that, but in the back seat, there is so much room. I mean, we're in a giant truck, you would expect that. But I, as a 5'8.5" adult, can fit back there with so much legroom. It's so nice back there, and the back seat, like you find in a lot of modern vehicles, is risen, so those back seat passengers have a view of the road, and they have a view of what's going on in front of them, so they don't feel totally blocked off by the back of these front seats, which is really nice. There are a few things inside this truck that could be improved upon. When I first got this truck to begin this loan so I could review it, one of the first things I noticed was on the brown glove box, there are scratches everywhere. I guess from people getting in the truck and smacking their knees or their boots or their backpack on it. And I think that's unfortunate because this truck has 16,000 miles on it. And unfortunately, having that lighter brown color on the glove box and the material of that glove box, it is showing scratches and marks, which isn't the best. I also really like the brushed silver and light brushed bronze accents in the center console area and on the dashboards of this F-150. However, that particular material, although it looks nice and it doesn't show dust and dirt as much, it is very easy to scratch. So if you were to buy this truck, you have to either find a way to protect it, get interior film that you can put on top of it, or you have to be extremely careful that you and your passengers do not get in here and smack it with something. Because again, this has 16,000 miles on it, and there is already a deep gash in the brushed silver over here. And I just wouldn't want someone to spend $80,000 on this and then scratch it. That is so unfortunate in my opinion. Not only that, we have some chrome pieces in the center console area, and those chrome pieces show a lot of dust and dirt. So that's going to be something that you have to clean a lot. And then another thing that I noticed that I'm not super fond of is that the bones of this vehicle, the skeleton of this vehicle from the inside, don't feel as nice as the other features once you're inside it, like the seats. So for example, the door sill area looks a little plasticky. And then the actual doors, when you go like this, they make a creaking sound. Every single door, especially on the King Ranch silver accent area, makes this really loud creaking sound. And that's really unfortunate because the rest of the interior is so nice that that distracts from it. When it comes to storage, the styling of this interior is wonderful because it's already large and there are so many spots to put stuff. Down here by my calf on both the driver and passenger side, there are pockets that line the center console area where you can put things. Not only that, but there's a phone slot in between the shifter and the cup holders. Once you open the center console, if you don't have it laid flat like a desk, which is also amazing, it's super deep and it has a shelf that you can move around. And on that shelf, you have change slots. So if you have change and you just want somewhere to put it because there's no way to use it because everything is so expensive, you can just put it in your change shelf, which is really fun and I like it a lot. In terms of storage, the only thing I would personally change about the interior of this F-150 is I would make the cup holders more adaptable to bigger sizes of water bottle or any kind of beverage cup or anything like that, because as they are, they're very stationary, and you're seeing in a lot of modern vehicles, automakers are giving you the ability to either deepen or expand or both the cup holders, because especially in America, we have giant water bottles. My giant water bottle is currently in the center console right here because there's no place for it. And I'm not expecting an automaker to give me a spot for a water bottle that big. That would be ridiculous. But I think a little bit bigger than what this F-150 has would be wonderful. Now let's talk about the controls inside this F-150 King Ranch. And I'm a big fan of the control situation we have going on in here. We have physical climate controls, physical radio controls, and physical drive mode buttons, which is absolutely awesome. It's fantastic. Then up front for the driver and the front passenger, we have a USB-A port, a USB-C port, and in America, we have 3-prong 120 volt outlets. This has one of those up here. You also have 2 USB-C ports in the back and another 3-prong outlet in the back. And the thing I like about having USB-A and USB-C up here is I feel like we are in a society that just constantly changes what our chargers are, and there are so many obsolete chargers. And if you have USB-A chargers, you can have them in this vehicle, and that is so nice because you don't feel like you're just wasting them and they're sitting around and you're waiting for a chance to use them that you're never gonna get. Now let's talk about driving the F-150 King Ranch. And I'll start by saying, when you shift, this shifter does not have the nicest feel. It feels a little cheap, it feels a little plasticky, but at the same time, I'm going to forgive it because the shifter collapses so that you can make a desk out of the center console. And that's cool enough for me to go, all right, fine, it doesn't matter that much. Now, when you're driving around town, something I find really funny is that you can very vividly feel what's under your foot on the brake pedal. You can feel the road underneath you. You can feel when you're accelerating, there's this like little rumble underneath your foot. And what's interesting is that while this truck is quite powerful, that rumbling underneath your foot feels kind of grunty, and it almost makes the truck feel weaker than it is, which is very odd. Another funny thing you'll notice is that when you press the brake hard, this is a big vehicle, you have a brake booster that makes a lot of noise. It goes whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And it's so loud, kind of like the running boards. And then it's really convenient that I'm actually going to a stop sign right now and turning, because I can talk about the fact that when you turn this wheel, it takes a lot for it to respond to you. It takes a big crank for the wheel to go. And I did test it earlier, and to go full lock on either side, you have to turn the wheel 1.5 times. It's a lot of steering and it's a lot of wheel turning. So if you get into a position where you need to park, or you need to back in somewhere, or you need to do an 18-point turn, which happens sometimes, and it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of moving that wheel, but that's what you pay for when you get an $80,000 truck. You need to move that wheel and show that you are worthy. Driving this truck, you will learn very quickly that it is actually pretty powerful. Yes, this is a large truck, but when you floor it, if you're in two-wheel drive too high, it will actually make the tires slip a little bit because there is so much torque and so much power. If you're in sport mode and you have it on 4 auto and it's sending the power to all 4 wheels, it won't do that. But it's a lot of torque, and that torque is used because in this vehicle, when it's equipped properly, you can tow up to 11,000
200 pounds, which is really impressive. When you're on the highway, this truck has a little bit of wind noise, but it's not harsh wind noise. It feels like waves going over the truck. So it's not bad. You can drown it out with radio, and it's not just shh, it's more like ooh, over the truck. When you're on the highway as well, you're going to get 23 miles per gallon combined according to EPA ratings, but I am getting 18.8 in my time with the truck. And the last thing I want to discuss about this F-150 King Ranch is one of my favorite technologies in modern cars. That is hands-free Blue Cruise driving technology. So with this vehicle, you have different cameras and sensors and everything like that that can, on mapped highways, allow you to drive without your hands on the wheel. You have to pay attention to the road in case the vehicle needs you to take over, and it will sometimes ask you to take over. However, you can set your hands down and not have them on the wheel. I like Blue Cruise. I don't think Blue Cruise is quite as good as its competitor from General Motors, which is SuperCrew, but I think it's pretty close. With SuperCrew, you get a 3-year trial of the service before it becomes a monthly subscription. And you have to pay for the service when you get the vehicle. You usually have to option a vehicle with it on there. But to have 3 years of a trial, to me, is so much better than what you get with Blue Cruise, which is 90 days. Because people are just willing to pay more, I think, upfront on a vehicle, especially when it's a lease vehicle, and they're maybe gonna only have it 3 years anyway. That 3-year trial is really, really nice to get them used to the technology. Whereas 90 days, you could go either way on it. And I think this is great technology, especially if you drive on a lot of highways. I just don't know that people will get enough experience with it in 90 days to decide that they like it that much. Overall, I really have enjoyed my time with this Ford F-150 King Ranch. I think it's super comfortable. It's well styled on the inside, and it is so capable of doing all the things you would need a full-size truck to do without being super compromising on the around town comfort. Yeah, the fuel economy is not great. Yes, because it is a big truck, it does feel very big to take around town and park in parking spots and things like that. But I don't think that's a deal breaker at all, especially for the audience who is looking for this kind of vehicle. I really have enjoyed this F-150, and I think it's going to be great for a lot of people. Do I think those people will use it to its full capability all the time or really ever? A lot of them probably won't, but they will have a status symbol, even if they just take that status symbol to the grocery store. And I know that's what they want. Now that we've driven the 2025 Ford F-150 SuperCrew King Ranch, it's time to give it a grade. Welcome to Alanis's report card. The exterior on this truck gets a B+. It is very stately. It looks nice. I like the styling. However, I have to dock major points because of the orange peel in the paint. For $80,000, that is a lot of orange peel. The interior is an A-. The seats are absolutely lovely. I like the brushed chrome accents, and the physical climate controls rock, but some of the skeletal features of the truck feel a little cheap and plasticky. The performance is also an A-. This truck does what it needs to do. It tows what it needs to tow. It has Blue Cruise for driving on the highway, and it is extremely comfortable. But the fuel economy does make it an A- because the fuel economy from the hybrid is just not that great. The value on this truck is a B+, and I say that because while $80,000 is a lot of money, this is decently competitive within the hybrid pickup truck market, and it's overall a really nice feel on the inside, especially compared to some other pickup trucks which have more plasticky features in there. Would I take this F-150 on a road trip? I personally would choose not to. I think people who buy this truck would, but for me it's a no, and it's a no not because of the Blue Cruise or the comfort or anything like that, which is great. It's a no because the fuel economy is just not the best. And overall, we're hovering between a B+ and an A-, but because I personally wouldn't take it on a road trip, we gotta go with the B+. The Ford F-150 King Ranch is a luxury item, and it relays that both inside and out. Is it perfect? No. But is it good at what it does and what it wants to communicate? Yes. That's all most buyers need.
The Ford F-Series has been around for many, many decades. It is a staple of American roads, ranches, offices, and grocery store parking lots. And it makes sense. This is a status symbol, but it's ultimately a status symbol that can do the work you need it to do when you need it to do that work.